Hello everybody, today we continue the series of games with Matt. This is another casual friendly 93-94 match that we had, and this is going to be blue and red stable ooze versus my black and white life deck. So we're going to see how both of these decks work. As usual, the deck tech for my deck is in a separate video that you might have already seen, and the deck tech for Matt's deck is going to be at the end of this video. So Matt plays Primordial Ooze. Primordial Ooze is an interesting card. In case you are not familiar with it, if you have got this ooze, during your upkeep you must put a counter on it and pay 1 for each counter that you have on it. Otherwise you must tap it and receive 1 damage for each of the counters. Certainly not the card you see every day, and I just play Swamp and pass to Matt. So Matt, as you can see, puts a counter on the ooze, pays 1 mana, and here we have got the most amazing thing there. This is the combo itself. So if you take a moment to read the Primordial Ooze and the errata, especially that we've got nowadays, and if you understand the synergy with Unstable Mutation, here is how it's going to work. So the ooze gets +3/+3 from Unstable Mutation. Unstable Mutation hasn't put any -1/-1 counters on it, and so far it's just a 5/5 ooze that attacks me for 5. And the most interesting thing is going to happen during the upkeep, as you will see. And I'm just talking to Matt. I just would like to know how exactly it works, how big the ooze is going to be, because I'm actually quite surprised Matt hadn't told me about this combo and this synergy before. And you know, the interesting thing is that he came up with it on his own, and there was no indication of anybody discovering this combo. Of course, it only works according to modern rules. So what I do is I play Spirit Link on Matt's ooze. So right now it's going to be a little bit easier for me, but still. So look, what happens is that Matt must pay 1 for each of the counters, but since both of the cards belong to him, he can rearrange the triggers in any way he wants to. So what happens is that he now must put a -1/-1 counter on the ooze, and at the same time he will later on put a +1/+1 counter. But since +1/+1 and -1/-1 counters cancel each other out, essentially what he does is just he pays 1 mana, and he first puts the -1/-1 counter, and then he puts +1/+1 counter. So the ooze is still here, so it's a 1/1 creature with 1 counter and +3/+3, so it's still a 5/5 creature. And you know, we actually talked to the judges regarding that, because I was really interested in how exactly it works, what kind of interaction should it be. But of course Matt was right, so this combo definitely does work in the same way as you see it here. Another option would be to rearrange the triggers in a different way, but then it would mean that you would have to pay 2 mana, but still would get a creature which is just as big as 5/5. So that is, of course, if you put the enchantment on it during the second turn. So Matt double bolts me, so no problem that he cannot attack me with the ooze. Well, technically he can, because you know how Spirit Link works. It doesn't really prevent the damage. So sooner or later, as soon as I'm down to 5, Matt will be able to attack me and actually kill me with the ooze. So he pays 1 for the ooze again, and here is Zephyr Falcon, a card that I always liked. I remember it from the days of Chandelar. I still haven't played it. I of course have got a playset. I remember it in Stasis decks. Of course nowadays Stasis decks are a little bit more fearsome, and I rarely see them play the Falcon, but it's a nice card, like a mini Serra Angel. So I play my Frozen Shade and pass the turn. Matt again pays 1. So the ooze essentially became stable, so unstable with this stabilization. So this is how it works. It's really amazing. And the Falcon, who's flying, attacks me And there's also Bloodlust. Nothing I can do with that. It's going to be very fast, very fast. Red and blue. He's got some nice burn, some nice enchantments and pumps. Bloodlust is also a favorite of mine. So here's the Falcon swinging again. And if you have watched my video where I was talking about the creatures that might be flying based on their art, but in reality they're not, I would of course argue that Frozen Shade should be flying, but this is just not the case. And Matt also plays Flying Man. As you can see, I don't really stand a chance against this army, so I concede and we go to game 2. I'm trying to play Divine Transformation, but that wouldn't save me anyway. So this was game 1. This was an explosive combo from Matt. This game was really indicative of what this deck is capable of, this amazing newly discovered combo. And in game 2 we're going to see if I get any more lucky and if I'm able to show the idea behind my black with white splash deck based on life as a resource. So as you can see, at least I have got a decent start with a Mox and a Swamp, but Matt is also playing the key card that he needs in this deck, so we see the Ooze again. Let's see if he has also got Unstable Mutation on turn 2. That would be really devastating for me. But I'm able to play my threat, which is in this case Frozen Shade. And Matt puts one counter on the Ooze. And there we have it. Yes, this is Unstable Mutation again. So Matt attacks me for 5. At least I have got a couple of mana to pump my guy, but this is not enough to be able to properly fight against the Ooze. But I play El Hajij. So El Hajij is a card that is originally from Arabian Nights. It's a 1/1 for 3 mana, and he has got the Spirit Link ability. And it's not a problem really that it is 2 mana overcosted, meaning that it's a 1/1 for 3 mana. So imagine that we pay 2 extra for the Spirit Link ability, that's fine, but I would definitely prefer it to be a more than 1/1 creature, and that's really a shame. So we need some kind of boost to these El Hajij, and I normally have got it, as you will see. So the idea of this deck is to gain some life and use this life as a resource for a couple of cards that I have got. And these cards are naturally black, because black is the best color that is able to use the life total as a resource. So Matt attacks me with the Ooze. Again, it is a 5/5 Ooze, and there is nothing I can do. I must take 5 damage. And the clock is really ticking very fast. My only hope is to be able to gain some life with El Hajij and start racing Matt. But so far Matt has got 20 life, so not able to do much. But I am attacking with El Hajij for 1. So there is 1 point of life that I drain, gain 1, and go to 11. This time Matt decides to tap his island to free up the red mana, and plays one more mountain and attacks me for 5. So sooner or later I should start doing something, such as chump blocking, but see, it's not the case. And Matt also plays Bloodlust, so I take 9 damage, which is just devastating for me. I've got 2 guys, I've got 2 El Hajij guys, and here is my hope, which is Bad Moon, meaning that I'm going to attack for 4 and drain this 4 life. So I'm not dead yet. this is the idea behind this deck, and my hope is to use the Frozen Shade as a chump blocker, if I'm able to do so. The mat plays Diamond Valley. Diamond Valley, an amazing card from Arabian Nights. As you might know, it allows you to sacrifice a creature to gain life equal to its toughness. So in case Matt is not able to battle with his ooze, he can at any time sacrifice it. And I decide to chump block with my Frozen Shade, which is a pity, and here is a Serendibifreet. Since I have no flying creatures, things are going to be even more difficult for me. I play Swamp. And here is my hope. This is Ashes to Ashes. So I target both creatures that Matt has. And here is the effect that he uses. So I lose 5 life, but I'm able to get rid of both creatures that Matt has, and he gains 5 life for the ooze. And I'm able to attack for 4. So that's a kind of a recovery for me, but it's still not fast enough because Matt also gained life using the Diamond Valley. And here are Flying Men and also the Falcon, the Flyers. Here are the Flyers, but at least they are smaller than my El Hajij. Well, this gives me some hope, nevertheless. And here is one more Bad Moon. So 3-3, that's something serious, really. I attack with both guys. And Matt decides not to block. He gains 6 life. So this is how my deck is supposed to be working. In game 1 we saw a brilliant start with Matt's creatures, and here is my optimal, I would say, board state. Even though I have got some bigger creatures as well. And here is the Nettling Imp from me as well. So things are not so good for me, because as you can see, Matt has just cast double Unstable Mutation on the Falcon. So he attacks me for 7. And a +1 from Flying Man, so total of 8. I'm still alive. But the problem is that the Falcon has got Vigilance, so even if I force him to attack using the Imp's ability, that's not going to help me. So what I do is I cast Uncle Istvan, who can make sure that the damage to him is prevented, so creatures cannot damage him. And I attack just to gain life from my attacks. So I still gain 6 life, but the problem is that one of my El Hajij is gone, and Uncle Istvan, which is usually my hope in this deck, doesn't do me any good because he doesn't have flying. So of course the Falcon becomes a little bit smaller. It's currently able to attack me for 5, not 7, but Matt has also got the Ooze. And this is the end of the game, as you can see. I hope you enjoyed this match. It was a really fast-paced match, which is good for a change, actually. You don't see that every day in Old School. But let's take a look at Matt's deck, because we didn't even see all of the cards from this deck due to the speed of the match. So as you can see, the central combo here is of course the Ooze plus Unstable Mutation, but we've also got some nice synergy, nice interactions, and just powerful cards on their own. So we did see the Flying Men, we did see the Zephyr Falcons, both of them have a playset. Also there is a playset of Serendibifreets, which are definitely a staple here, but they do have their own, I would say, slightly different use from your basic Lion Deep deck or UR Counter Burn, if you wish. because we have got Diamond Valley, and this changes quite a lot. So at any time that Matt feels that this is going too fast and he is not able to use the Ifrits and they're just sitting there damaging him, he can at any time just get rid of them using Diamond Valley, because there are 3 copies of Diamond Valley. And another creature that we didn't see in any of those games that we have just watched is Blazing Effigy. Blazing Effigy is an interesting creature from Legends. It's a card for 2 mana, 0/3. When it dies, it deals 3 damage to another creature. So it can be used as a chump blocker. It can also be sacrificed again to Diamond Valley, and if it deals damage in this way to another Blazing Effigy, it creates a chain reaction. But it's just good on its own. A nice card for sure. In addition to that, we have got a card that is really a favorite of mine. This is Jalum Tome. I'm a big proponent of Jalum Tome. I certainly agree that JM the Tome is of course better, but not for every deck. So there are some instances in which Jalum Tome is more suitable. And again, we have got 4 lightning bolts, which are staples, as you understand, but also we have got 4 bloodlusts, and bloodlust is very good here. Of course, can be used with all of these flyers, and in general just a good card, and can even work on the effigy, so you see how it works. And in terms of sideboard, we have got a couple of Blue Elemental Blast, some counter magic, Shatter Storms, so mostly just cards that work as a kind of a answer to some particular deck type. But then again, I must emphasize that I was absolutely blown away by this combo. And again, as I have said, we tried to dig in through different archives, looking for the information whether people were able to make this work. This was only errated about 10 years ago, when I believe they released Shadowmoor or Morning Tide, I don't remember exactly. So they had this synergy of +1/+1 and -1/-1 counters, and essentially you could put a -1/-1 counter, and if you had a +1/+1 counter, they would cancel each other out, which was not the case back in the day. So this combo definitely did not work back then, but it does work now. And it just shows how many interesting things there are, how many synergies are still unexplored, because we don't have a huge card pool, and if we look at the number of cards that are deemed playable, and the Ooze, as you understand, is definitely not one of them, we think that everything has already been explored, but there is still some interesting synergies. And of course, if we talk about staples, there's only a handful of these. I don't know, maybe about 100 cards in the whole old school card pool are truly deemed playable and highly efficient. But the deck that you are looking at now just shows us that there are still some things that can be explored, things that are a lot of fun and sometimes even viable. So that is it. Thank you for watching. There will be more matches. I'm trying to make it a weekly feature. I aim to have one video which is a deck tech or card discussion video, and one video which is a match every week, and I'll try to make that work. Quite a big backlog. Haven't played Magic for quite a while, but we have also got some pre-modern, some interesting matches, so look forward to that. But of course, Old School is still going to be the main focus of this channel. Anyway, let me know what you think about this video, about this deck, and I will see you soon. Bye.